Hello and welcome back to your geography class. We are going with the chapter number 2 and this is all about the natural resources that are found on the earth as a gift of nature. In the terms of gift of nature, first gift we have discussed about was land, and it's the time to discuss about the second gift of nature, that is soil. So in particular in today's class, we are going to discuss about the soil as a resource. And all of us know in what terms we do need soil for various purposes, particularly for the cultivation, agriculture, farming. Pick any one out of these three because these can be considered as synonyms. So, खेती करने के लिए agriculture is particularly required. So, let's start our second discussion. Second discussion matlab second topic of the chapter, that is soil. So, what is soil? The thin layer of grainy, danedar substance covering the surface of the earth. So, we can say the topmost layer of the surface of the earth is the soil, and it is in a thin layer, or it is present in thin layer. It is closely linked to land. Of course, when it is the topmost layer of the land, so it is closely linked to the land. Then landforms determine the type of soil. There are various types of soils, and the particular land shape, landscape or landform, physical feature, relief feature, all these are synonyms. Pick any one of your choice that you are going to learn and have to remember as well. So here we are talking about that the landforms, whether it is a mountain, a plain, a valley, a desert or an island. So either or all types of landforms determine the types of soil. It means whether it is formed from the igneous rock, sedimentary, metamorphic, or three of the rocks are collectively responsible for the formation of the particular type of soil. So landforms are responsible character. Soil is made up of organic matter that comprises various types of chemicals. Chemicals, the natural ones, they are naturally occurring and they are required and necessary for the growth of the plants. Along with that, it comprises minerals because soil is formed from the rocks, a particular parent rock, or from the three types of the rocks. So rocks contain minerals, so does the soil have minerals within it. And the weathered rocks, disintegrated rock particles found on the earth. So here we are talking about the soil is made up of various components, particularly comprising organic matter, then comprising minerals, and finally the weathered rocks. So this is how the soil can be characterized and defined. Moving further, this happens through the process of soil formation, and this happens through the process of weathering. Which thing? The formation of soil occurs due to the weathering, because weathering is a process that splits up the rock or that disintegrates the rocks into rocks particles, and those rocks particles by the time transforms into the soil. The right mix of minerals and organic matter makes the soil fertile. Right mix of minerals and organic matter. So here we are talking about the particular features of the soil that makes it fertile. So what are those features? Organic matter and the minerals present in that. For example, nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, these are the basic features, humus as well, that are required for a particular soil to be the fertile one. Moving further, landslide. So here is the description of landslide. Where do they occur? How do they occur? And several other things that we are going to read now. So, the mass movement of rock, when we talk about rock is basically the huge size boulders. There is a difference between boulders are the largest one or the bulkiest rocks. So, we are talking about the rocks that can be easily eroded. So, the mass movement of rocks and debris, toote foote kankar pathar, and earth down a slope. So, basically what is a landslide? A mass movement of rocks, along with the rocks, debris. So, the collective slide of the uppermost layer of the soil that is having the rocks and debris within it. So, that particular mass is moving, and that particular mass movement is known as landslide, and it occurs on the slope itself. Now, what does it occur? So why does it occur? Comprises various concerns. Let's read out. Often take place in conjunction where earthquakes, floods and volcanoes occur. A prolonged spell. First reasons, earthquakes, floods, volcanoes. Another one, a prolonged, that is continuously going for a long time. As expected, it is taking more time, that is prolonged. A prolonged spell of rainfall, मतलब ज़्यादा लंबे time तक heavy rainfall होना can cause the heavy landslide. Again in the mountainous region particularly. It can block the flow of river. With the landslide, as we know, within the mountainous region, along with the mountain valleys, there flows the rivers. So whenever landslide occurs, ultimately the rocks and debris have to go down, and when these rocks and debris slides downward, finally it enters the river water and it interrupts its flow. So this is what is mentioned. It can block the flow of river for quite some time. तो थोड़ी देर के लिए ये जो लैंडस्लाइड में पत्थर आते हैं, डेब्रीज, कंकड़ पत्थर, बड़े बड़े पत्थर आते हैं लुढ़कते हुए पहाड़ी के ढलान पर, ये जाके फाइनली रिवर में गिरते हैं and it stops the flow of the river for some time, for a bit of time. Then river block formation. Now when the river is being blocked, its passage, its flow is being blocked, तो क्या होता है? River block formation can cause severe damage to downstream settlements when it bursts. So when a landslide will suddenly fall into the river, two things are going to happen. First is the flow is going to be stopped या interrupted या intervene. Flow रुक जाएगा. Second thing that happens is suddenly whatever the ahead part of water is there, जहाँ पर लैंडस्लाइड हुआ है उसके आगे के हिस्से का जो पानी है, it will suddenly rush towards a head part. आगे की तरफ बहुत ज़्यादा स्पीड से स्प्लैश के साथ बढ़ेगा. तो उससे क्या होगा? The areas coming ahead are going to experience a sudden pour of the water, or they are going to experience a sudden flood, and that sudden flood can cause huge destruction. Landslides in hilly terrain, पहाड़ी इलाकों में widespread natural disasters, threat to life and property. So whenever and wherever destruction occurs, it causes destruction to the life and destruction to the property. लोग भी मरते हैं, प्रॉपर्टी का भी नुकसान होता है. Landslides are a significant, prominent, important concern due to their destructive impact. As landslides are always and quite destructive, they are automatically destructive one, as they are interrupting various concerns, they are giving the sudden flow of water. So basically its nature is destructive itself. So due to its destructive impact, it is quite the thing to be taken care of with the immediate effects. Now mitigation mechanism, as I was talking about, it should be taken care of with the immediate effects. So those immediate effects are these. Mitigation mechanism. Mitigation means to minimize the effects of landslides. We are going to discuss those points through which we can minimize the effect of the, or minimize the impact of the landslide. So first one is hazard mapping to locate areas prone to landslides. So where frequently landslides occur, those areas should be mapped. It means they should be marked, and those areas should be taken care of in the terms of creating awareness in those regions to spread this awareness that people should not reside by the riverside. They should be quite ahead from the riverside. River se thodi dur hi apne ghar banaye. It will be beneficial for them. Hence such areas can be avoided for construction part also. वहाँ पे रहना ही नहीं चाहिए. So construction part can be avoided straightforwardly. Construction of retention wall, supportive wall by the landslide, so that if the landslide is going to occur, the debris and rocks are not coming down with the immediate effects. It will take a bit longer. Meanwhile, so many things can be taken care of. And increase in the vegetation cover to arrest landslides. Arrest means to stop the landslide. As why does landslides occur? Because we are deforesting. This is one of the prominent reason of the landslides. So to stop the deforestation, to stop the landslide, we should promote the afforestation. And this retention wall we were talking about, you can see over here, the cemented area, and over here it is the rough slope from where the debris and things can come down, and as you can see, there is the lack of vegetation by the edge part. So this kind of retention wall can be constructed with the help of the rocks collected from the mountains itself. Few more points to take care of. Surface drainage control. It means from the slope, whatever water quantity comes down or whatever water comes down with the rainfall concern or anyhow, that should be particularly restricted by doing various measures. We can stop that huge flow by creating hurdles of the vegetation in between the flow and other things. So surface drainage control helps to manage landslide by regulating rainwater and spring flows. So hurdles can be created to stop the direct flow of the water from the slope regions, from the hilly area. So that was all about the landslide part. So if you remember, in a part 1, we have discussed about solid profile. If you remember, in the part 1, we have talked about and we have discussed about soil profile. It means we have discussed about the diagram, how the soil is formed and different layers of the soil. So here is the one diagram that I have drawn for you. So in here you can see 1, 2, 3 and 4 layers. This is the layer of the rock. Then comes the weathered part. Then comes the soil part, and overlying comes the main surface soil. And here are the features. So top soil with humus and vegetation, it is that part. Subsoil, the second layer of the soil. Why the second layer of soil is always there? As it is the work of nature itself, we have not contributed in that part. And why is the second layer of the soil always present beneath the surface layer? The reason for that is, if the topmost layer of the soil is being washed away by the water or it is being blown away by the wind, so the second most layer is going to take place of the first layer that is being washed away. Then the third is weathered rock particles, and over here parent rocks from which the weathering is done by the nature itself, and by the weathering process further soil profiles are created. So this is the image of the soil profile. It does come within the exams as well, so it's better you should prepare for it, and it takes hundreds of years for the formation of 1 centimeter of soil. So just think about it, how time taking process it is, which is the soil profile we are talking about, or the soil formation process. It takes hundreds of years for the formation of 1 centimeter of soil. Moving ahead with the topic, factors of soil formation. So there are various factors for the soil formation, but the primary concern is of primary rock or the parent rock from which the soil is being formed, and there are various others. So let's talk about them. Nature of the parent rock. Nature means we are talking about the qualities of the parent rock, and if we talk about the parent rock, it can be one out of 3, either igneous, sedimentary or metamorphic. These are the 3 types of rocks present on the earth's surface. Then comes the climatic factors that comprises 2 basic features, temperature and rainfall. Then comes topography, the relief feature, physical feature. Then roles of organic material. Role of organic material, so we are talking about the living organisms that are residing on the surface, how they are responsible for the formation of soil. We are going to discuss that as well. And finally, the time. Every process takes or consumes some time, and in here we are talking about hundreds of years. And a note, all these differ from place to place. All these, nature of the parent rock, climatic factors, topography, role of organic material and time, they can vary according to the places itself. For the mountainous region, plain region, so for every region there will be the certain processes involved within these one. Likewise, climatic factors. So if the region is frozen or the temperature remains below the 0 degree, in the negative, over there soil formation is going to take more than the regular time it takes on the usual places, for example plains and mountains. So likewise, all these have their particular concerns and it varies from place to place. Now here is the soil formation factors, or the factors responsible for the soil formation. So here is the key information of all of these. They are a bit different from these but almost related in the terms of over here climate. So it comprises temperature, rainfall, influences rate of weathering and humus formation. Weathering, that is the disintegration process. More the temperature will help for the fast process of soil formation, because the soil is formed from the disintegration of the rock particles. So that is how temperature and rainfall are going to affect. Talking about the time, so it determines the thickness of the soil profile. More the time taken, more the soil formation process is going to form the thick layers of the soil. Over here, parent rock, it determines, as I've told you, the features of the rocks comes in the soil as well. Likewise, the color of the rock will be the color of the soil. Texture of the rock is going to affect the texture of the soil. Similarly, chemical properties, mineral, then content, permeability. Talking about the relief, so height and slope determine the accumulation where the soil gathers up, or I should say it piles up at a place. So from the mountains, when a water body enters the plains, this is the particular point where soil mostly accumulates. Then coming on to the middle part, that is of the flora, fauna and microorganism. So remember, in the previous we have discussed about role of organic material. So we are talking about them. So these are the living organisms, vegetation, animal or the wildlife, and microorganisms. So their dead bodies and the microorganisms that are present in the soil, that affects the, what should I say, the amount of humus present in the soil. So more will be these organisms present in the soil formation process, more will be the amount or the share of the humus present in the soil. Now coming on to the conservation methods of the soil and degradation of the soil. It means at first we are going to discuss about the reasons responsible for the degradation of the soil. It means we are depleting the quality of the soil while following some steps, and how should we reduce those steps, or how should we take care of those steps that we should not repeat them, as they are going to deplete the quality of soil. Instead of that, we should opt to those points जिनसे कि soil का conservation हो सकता है, we can protect it. So here are the concerns. Soil erosion and depletion are the major threats to the soil as a resource. The quality of soil is depleting and soil is being eroded away by the weathering agents. What are those? They are the air, temperature and rainfall, or air, water and wind. Nahin bhai, air and wind are almost the same concern, because moving air is called the wind. So we are going to consider the temperature, the water and the wind. So both human and natural factors can lead to degradation of soil. Human factors, we are polluting the soil, and natural process, likewise, if a land is barren, landslides are occurring, and of course landslides are also occurring because of the human factors and natural processes. So nature is working on its own. If it is depleting the quality of a particular resource, it is retaining it as well on its own. But the humans, if we talk about the human factors, we are depleting it, and we are more and more depleting it instead of taking steps for the conservation of that particular thing. So these are the factors which lead to the degradation of the soil. Deforestation, cutting more and more trees, whether for any purpose, but if we are cutting the forest, we are cutting more and more trees. At least we should do the afforestation part also. We can plant more and more trees. At least for one plant, we can minimum grow 2 plants on its replacement part. We should do that, but we are not using it. So deforestation, one of the reason. Overgrazing by the animals, overuse of chemicals, fertilizers and pesticides within the agriculture. Then rain wash. Rain also, it means water is also eroding the topmost layer of the soil. Landslides, floods. So these are the particular reasons that are eroding the topmost layer of the soil, and these are the one that are also depleting the quality of the soil. So these were the reasons for the depletion. Now we should talk about the conservation methods that are comprising all these parts, and these are contour ploughing, intercropping, terrace farming, rock dam, contour burring, then mulching. So contour barriers, and about all these we are going to discuss in in the individual manner. So first is of mulching. What exactly the mulching is? So the bare ground between plant is covered with a layer of either or concerns, as in of organic matter, likewise straw in between parts, so that the soil should not remain barren, it should be covered. Soil should not remain bare, khali nahi rehna chahiye. It helps to retain soil moisture as well, because the moisture can be absorbed easily by the sun if it will be loose, and if something will be grown on the top of it, the soil is going to keep its moisture for the longer duration. Second process is of contour barriers, by creating barriers so that the water should not be eroded, so that the water should not erode the soil. So some grass, stones, soil are used to build the barriers along the contours. You can see these barriers. So stones can be used, soil can be used, grass can be used. Trenches, khaiyan, thode gehre khadde. So trenches are made in front of the barriers to collect water. You can see in between gaps are there. So these are small trenches. Moving ahead, rock dams. So the dams should be constructed to stop the overflow of the water that is bringing soil along with it from the slopes, from the mountainous or hilly regions. So rocks are piled up to slow down the flow of water. This prevents gullies and further soil loss. Gullies, you can see from the main water flow, the water is subsiding in the gullies, small passages. So that is the process. And now the process of terrace farming. So on the slopes, we can avoid the soil erosion by farming, by doing the agriculture onto the slopes of the hills. And how can we do it? In the terrace farming, you can see small terraces are formed and then contour barriers are constructed just to stop the flow of the water which is carrying the soil within it. So let's read out broad flat steps. You can see broad flat steps or terraces are made on the steep slope so that the surface are available to grow crops. They reduce surface runoff and soil erosion. Further is the process of intercropping. It means that between two rows of crops, anything particular can be grown, likewise vegetables, flowers or something like that. So different crops are grown in alternate rows. Alternate means likewise in between spaces there, and are sown at different times to protect the soil from rain wash. You can see not even a patch of land is spared so that the soil erosion should occur. Then contour plowing. So within this you can see that within the plowing we are making the contours, we are making the patches. So plowing parallel to the contours of a hill slope to form a natural barriers. So naturally the barriers are occurring and we are also playing a part in creating them for water to flow down the slopes. Again, these contour plowing, contour barriers, terrace farming. So prominently out of all the measures that we are discussing right now, majority are constructed and practiced in the hilly or mountainous region, particularly on the slopes. Then the shelter belts. So in the coastal areas, you can see a row of trees are grown just to stop the movement of the fast flowing wind. बहुत तेज हवा चलती है, उसको interrupt करने के लिए these kind of shelter belts are grown so that it should not take along the soil with it. So that was all about the understanding of the soil formation. Along with that, we have discussed about some methods for the soil conservation as well. Now it's the time for the recap part. So uske liye hum kya karte hain? We used to practice few MCQs. So let's discuss them. Question number 1. What is soil primarily made up of? Basic features of the soil formation. So they are organic matter, minerals and weathering. And weathering comprises weathered rocks. टूटे हुए पत्थर. Second question, what is the process of plowing parallel to the hill slopes called? So that is contour plowing. We are plowing with the steep sides of the slopes. Terrace farming is the farming onto the slopes itself, but by creating the flat surface kind of staircase. Question number 3, which of the following leads to the soil degradation? So overuse of chemical fertilizers. So that was all about our going on topic soil as a resource. In the next class, we are going to take up our another topic for the same going on chapter number 2. So till then, keep focusing on to your studies. Take care. Bye-bye.